Hello there. Are you wanting to ask your boss for a few days off? Do you also want to do it in a way that makes you look professional? Do you want to die of polio? Right, forget that last one. But for the first two, you'll need to write a memo. Well, you still have to learn how to write one, idiot. For starters, you will need to establish three things. What is your audience? What is your objective? And how to format a memo. Step 1. Knowing your audience. Writing is a lot like comedy in the way that it is completely dependent on its audience for its effectiveness. Understanding your target audience will help you write for them effectively. In this particular case, think about who you are writing to and what is your intended message. Step 2. What is your purpose? Understanding what you actually want is a great way to get your point across effectively. It's a whole lot easier to get what you want when you know what you want. This in turn will help you set realistic goals and expectations, making negotiation a whole lot easier. Write out on a piece of paper exactly what you want to ask for and what you think you can achieve realistically. While you can still ask for some things that are unrealistic, keeping it mostly realistic will help you get what you actually want. Remember that this is a negotiation. You cannot get everything you want. The goal is to come out with more than what you thought you could actually get. Step 3. How to write the memo. While writing a memo, there are only 3 things you need to remember. 1. What you want. 2. Who you're talking to. And 3. The last one we haven't gone over. WWIW. No, what are you, a socialist? WWIW is an acronym for What Would the Industry Want? A memo is like a chameleon in the way that it completely changes depending on the person you are writing to. While it's important to keep the notion of professionalism in the memo, you must also consider adapting the writing to fit the purpose. Writing under these guidelines, your paper should have the notion of professionalism in the contents of the writing. This may be a little vague, but because the writing has to be so adaptable to what you need, this will hopefully just give you an idea as to where to start. Step 4. Formatting. Formatting is basically how we're going to make your document look like something that will give the impression of professionalism. If you follow this particular step properly, you could probably make your Starbucks order look professional from a quick glance. For this final step, I'm going to have Johnny Boy here show you his digital typewriter screen so that you can follow along at home. The font may change depending on what program you're using, but the main rule for this particular section is to keep the relevant industry in mind. You want to pick a font that's easily legible and looks professional. Well, I don't know. Were the Star Wars prequels a good idea? No, they weren't. It's the worst mistake that everyone's ever made. Comic Sans is literally the Nickelback for fonts, alright? You get off that shit. I'm out. How can you be so stupid? If you're drafting this document on Google Docs, my personal choice is a spectral font with a size anywhere from 11 to 14. This font in particular looks both professional and isn't as infamously popular as Times New Roman or Calibri. Now that you have your font selected, the next step is to create the format in which you are putting the memo into. If you look here at our electronic typewriter, you can see that we've already created a sample. Almost all memo headers have the same format. First, you have memorandum centered at the top. Next, you have to establish who is it for, who is it from, what the subject is, and the date that it is being sent. Notice the alignment from to through date. If you want to be extra fancy, you can even add a line like this. Now, onto the meat of the memo. One of the most important parts of a memo structure is its subtitles. Well, my boy, subtitles are what helps categorize the content of a memo. A memo with effective subtitles can let the reader know what each section is about at a glance without reading what's below. Well, the most important aspect of this is relevance to the purpose. You want to write subtitles that correlate with the topics you discussed in your memo. Now let's say you're writing a memo requesting a few days off work for a road trip. You'd want to use subtitles regarding the who, what, when, where, and why of your memo. I would start with one subtitle that goes into what you're going to be asking for. Next, you're going to want to write a second subtitle describing why you are requesting what you need. Lastly, write one subtitle in which you can either summarize the memo or write that you are awaiting a response regarding the context of the memo. What you're going to be doing is the process of chunking, which means you're going to be grabbing a large body of text and breaking it up into smaller paragraphs. Just grab what you've already written and break it up and adapt it to better fit the format. And now that you have completed all the steps, you will have the honor, the privilege, and the pure awesomeness that is a memo. Introducing your memo. Now that you have finished creating your memo, let's hand it to your boss and see what he says.